Hello and welcome to Marion's World, and today's episode of the Stitch Journal is actually starting a new page, and I'm starting with crewel embroidery, and it was mainly because I really wanted to show some lovely filling stitches that don't really get used very much these days maybe, and there's still a place for really pretty filling stitches. So I hope you're going to enjoy this new page. There's a pattern that will be in the shop to download for free if you want to use the same pattern that I've made for myself. Otherwise, just draw your own. It'll be perfectly lovely, I'm sure. And I hope you stick around to the end because there's a little update on what I did on holiday in Scotland, together with how the coat's coming on and the finished fusion crochet blanket. So I'm excited to show you those two. That was my original pattern, and so I refined that because I thought that the leaves were maybe too small to be filling in. So that's my final pattern, and it will be in the shop for free download. I've just drawn it on with a pencil, but just refer back to my earlier video where I show you how to transfer this pattern, and you can transfer it in the same way, or you can use carbon paper or whatever you want, or just make your own, just draw your own pattern. So that's my pattern. I've got all of my crewel wools out, and I've just tipped them out so I can go through them, and these are a mixture of very old vintage ones that have come from my great grandma. There are thrifted ones that have just come from charity shops, and some modern Appleton ones that I have bought over the years. And so that is it. I am just going to use what I've already got. If you don't have crewel wools to use, you can successfully split down tapestry wool, because I have done it, and I've done it on this channel when I've run out of, you'll notice I don't have any cream or any white here. Anytime I've needed that, then I have gone and split down tapestry wool, and you cannot tell the difference once it is stitched. The other thing I would say is you can stitch this with stranded cottons, and I have a piece of Crewelwork here which is unfinished, but it is stitched in stranded cottons. So this is quite a modern interpretation, and I just can't put my hand on the book that I've got this pattern from. It's by a lady, I think she's South African, Hazel Blomkamp, I think. The book is called Cruel Intentions, and I have just mislaid it somewhere because I meant to show it on the channel. Anyway, this is one of the things in her book, and she combines beadwork with needle lace and crewel work techniques. However, that's by the by. So that's just, if you don't have crewel wools, by all means use split down tapestry or use stranded cotton. It will be fine. So to start off with, I have started with my little tree, and I have started with these three colours. The sort of a goldish colour down here. The main part is this vintage Penelope, and then I've got my great grandma's sort of like a warm brown. And you will see straight away how much different the very vintage crewel wool is in comparison to the modern. I hope you can see that difference. So that's the really vintage, so that'll be 1920s or 30s. This I probably think's the 70s. And if I look at the Appletons, it's actually thicker again. So I think our grandparents and great-grandparents did very, very fine work in crewel wool. So I'm just using whatever colour I want to use, and I'm working with whatever it is. And so the first thing is I'm laying in the trunk with small chain stitches. I've got a crewel needle here, so it's got a long eye and a sharp point, and I'm actually going to carry on with another stem before I move to a leaf to show you a beautiful fill stitch. And for these, because these are quite old, you can't unwind them into a bobbin or anything. It's easier just to leave them in their long they're long loops, but if I cut them through I can get a length out. So I'm going to take a length of this. So to follow on from where I've got now, I'm going to come up on this edge, just where the curve has gone off. But I really like the chain stitch texture of it, and I'm going to come up along this line here, and I'm going to make quite small chain stitches, and even smaller because I'm using this single strand. And you don't have to do it in the hoop, it just makes it easier for me to show. But definitely try not to pull your fabric. So I'm just pulling my thread up, going down into the loop. Chain stitches have been done now, and I know I've done a little tutorial for them, so if you look in stitch tutorials there will be a chain stitch tutorial. And so I'm going to carry on, and instead of following the main line up, I'm going to take this chain and I'm going to take it along right to this flower here. And if I want to do the little loops in a different colour, I will. I've actually used 2 rows of this mink sort of a brown. Then I've got this warm brown in here and the gold going up the side. But you can, and I've got the whole trunk to thicken up here as well. But you can use whatever colours. You could do a purple trunk or pink, or if you look at some photographs online, you'll see that some old Crewelwork, it really is different colours than you would imagine it was going to be. I'm just laying my loop on top, bringing my thread up through it, and my stitches are probably about maybe 1/8 of an inch, but that is because I'm using the very fine vintage Crewel wool, and I'm just making tiny stitches because I want a nice fine line. And you'll find chain stitch is really nice to make a good curvy line with. Could even couch them down, that would also be nice. In fact, I might couch them down. No, I think I'm saying I might couch them down. I won't. I'm just going to do them all in chain stitch. So I'm going to carry on with that, because my main purpose this week really is to show you a couple of really beautiful filling stitches. Now the first leaf that I'm going to do is going to be this oak leaf, and a feature of this type of Crewelwork is quite often the pieces of it are contrasted with an open work side and then a more condensed filling side. So I'm just going to draw a line up here, and I'm going to do a different pattern on each side with a different stitch, and I'm going to use these 2 colours. So that's a vintage Crewel and this is an Appleton's. I'm going to start with the green. I'm going to lay in a trellis of this green, and I am going to go straight up and down with the weave of my fabric at the moment. So I'm coming up on the centre, and I'll deal with all of the edges at the end, and I'm going to go straight across, and I'm going to go down in a straight line. I'm going to come further along, and I leave about 1/2 centimetre between my lines, and I'm just going to audition where the thread needs to go to make a parallel line, and I'll go back down on the spine of the oak leaf. And I'm going to work my way right the way up, trying to make the lines as parallel as I can, lay my thread in to see where it goes. And you can see these build up because they build up in stages, and each stage is actually not that difficult, but then when you see the whole thing together, it looks more complicated, and I think sometimes people don't do these types of embroidery stitches because they think it's going to be harder work than it actually is. As you can see, I'm not going back to the beginning all the time, I'm just stepping along another half a centimetre or so. Going to bring my thread down just so I can see I'm lying them in straight. If they go a little bit wobbly, it's not the end of the world, it won't matter too much, but just try and get them in around about the same distance apart in straight lines. I think this is such lovely embroidery to do, and it might be a bit more involved than you were imagining if you're a new stitcher, but I hope you're going to be able to see that it isn't really hard, it isn't really difficult. It's very nice to see the result and how beautiful it can be. Okay, I've got right to the end, and now I need to decide how I'm going to cross. I can cross on a diagonal, but I think I'm going to cross straight on the right angle. I'm going to come up right at the head of my leaf, and I'm going to just see where that line is going to go. So if I pull my thread across, it's going to sort of go there. I'll go down there, and then I'll come up on the other side of the little gap and carry that line on. I'll fill this one in here just while I'm there. They don't always match up with the ones that's gone before, so don't think that's on purpose, it's just happened to be like that. I'll come back to here because I can't go across the little gap, so I'll come back to there. Just find out where it crosses your line and then you can go down. I'm going to get right to the end of my leaf this time. Now if you've got a more open weave, you could definitely count the threads apart if you wanted to, but I think, you know, if some of them end up a little bit narrower or wider, it's okay. We're hand making things. We're not expecting it to look like a machine's made it. We just want it to be lovely. And maybe I could get one in there, but I don't think I'm going to bother. So I'm actually going to lay a perimeter stitch of the same colour, I think. And I'm going to do split stitch all the way around it. And split stitch, I'm just going to go ahead by one stitch, come back and split that stitch just within its own, the last one. You could do this with a back stitch, you could do it with a little running stitch, you could do it with a chain stitch. The main thing really is you do need a continuous line. So if you're doing running stitch, you could do double running stitch, or you could whip it. You know, I love those whip stitches, but actually I'm split stitching around this outline. I'm going to get all the way around here, and I'll come back to you with orange in my needle. I'm going to couch these lines down. So this is actually, I think this might just be called trellis couching. So I'm going to come up near where the greens are crossing over, and I'm going to make a straight stitch over the cross. And I'm going to carry on up and do every single crossing thread. Now if this was a bit of a wider square, I could actually do little crosses on here, but it's a bit small to see the cross, so I'm just going to do single stitches, and I'm going to make them on every intersection. And I'm doing my crosses, I'm doing my lines up the length of the leaf, but you could just as easily do them the other way on. it doesn't matter. I'm just going to work up and down the rows, and you can see how it's sort of all of a sudden you're getting something that's more than the parts, equal to more than the parts that you've done, because all you've done is laid in some threads and now some straight stitches across the intersection. That is all it is. But when you put it together, you get something beautiful. I think my intersection oranges they're growing a bit in length, and they shouldn't be. I'll try and keep them down a bit. I think there is going to be quite a bit of embroidery on this page, but I think you're going to enjoy how it looks in the end. And surely that's what we're all here for, because we enjoy embroidery or stitching or whatever you want to do it. I'm going to come up and I'm going to do a little tiny running stitch. It's not very far apart from each other. I'm going to do that right down the middle. It's just a running stitch, but I'm not letting it have very much underneath. It's more like a dotted line than an equal running stitch. And that'll signify the vein in the middle of the leaf. And maybe I will just continue using this colour, and I'll go continue down to the tree with a bit of a bigger gap here, and I will whip back up. I'll use the eye of the needle to come through my little running stitch and just whip back up them to make the line. And yeah, actually I'm just going to take it all the way. I wasn't going to, but I like how it's looking now. I'm going to take that all the way up. Being careful not to go into my intersection stitches. Just my little running stitches that I've just put on. And to me that looks absolutely gorgeous. I wasn't intending to do that, but that's what I've done. So I shall just finish this thread off underneath by threading through, and I'll come back to finish this piece off. So I've just decided to put a line in here, and I've just drawn a curve. I'm going to start with this straw colour, and I'm going to start on the outside edge of this middle leaf, and I'm going to work both ways. And satin stitch, I'm going to work it on the sort of diagonal here. I'm going to go down round about to here, and really you can come up straight alongside on the outside of your line, outside of your shape, and you can continue to make straight stitches. But also, if you find that difficult to do, you can leave a gap, just like I was showing you with the long and short. You can lay your needle down, you can look for the straight line that's parallel, lay your needle down, where your needle touches that line you can put it down, and you can work a sort of a framework and come back up somewhere here, just about the same sort of a gap. lay your needle in, you can see the line you've done, move your needle over and put your needle down. And in this way you can go up and down, and I know this might not be the absolute way that you'll see other people showing you how to do it, but it's an easy way to learn how to put your stitches in and make them all lie in the same direction. Once I've worked down to the bottom, I'm going to put one extra stitch there because I can see my drawn line. I'm just going to come up there, put that extra one in there, and I'm going to come up halfway again in length and just put a little slanting one that's going to come down to where the other side finishes. And I think I need one more in there. Split that stitch and go down again. So now that I've got that framework in, I can actually come back up on the edge, knowing that I've now got these stitches that are all lying in the right way, and I just have to follow them. And it becomes an easier job of lying your stitches in. You only want to be your thread's width away from the previous one, and I'm coming up just beyond my drawn line because these are not lines I can sort of rub out or anything. I've just used pencil, but I often do just use pencil. I think it's just the way I do it, but I'm not recommending anybody else do that. Use your disappearing pen if you need to put your lines on. And so I'm just going to fill in all of this edge of the leaf. I actually think I'm going to fill it in with another colour, but I'll decide that when I've filled in this piece. So if you're more experienced and you don't want to put a framework in, you don't have to, just do it the traditional way by laying your stitches next to each other. Sometimes it's difficult for new stitchers to realise where they're going to lie the thread, and so the framework stitches actually sort of make it a bit easier. You just have to practice with your needle or lie in your thread and audition where it goes, and by that way you'll soon sort of get into the habit of it, and then you'll just get more and more that you don't need to do all that. But when you're starting out, that's a good way of sort of finding out before you put your needle down where the thread's going to lie. And as I come up to where my framework started, sometimes it's nice to start in the middle of a piece of filling in. Now that I've come up, I can just carry on lying stitches in like I'm doing, one at a time, like that. But I can just do my framework again and move along and lay my thread down and take my needle down, and I can work up. It's not as important where you're going to be because this is the framework, so you can just lie your stitch, lie your thread, take your needle down, move along, lie the thread, find out where it needs to be, take your needle down. And so you can lay your framework in again till you get right to the top, and then fill in on the way back down. Which is what I'm going to do now. I've done the rest of the satin stitch, and I nearly left this little oval empty, and then I realised that I didn't actually want another colour on at all, and so I'm filling in this little area with seed stitch. And seed stitch really is just, you come up, make a little stitch, you come up somewhere in a gap, and as long as you make your stitch in a different direction to the previous one, you're going to get seed stitch. And it's all about just every stitch, come up in a gap and make a stitch that doesn't match the previous one. You can go at right angles to the one before. It doesn't matter as long as you're always going in a different direction. And I'm going to fill in right up to this central line. Now I don't need to go around the outside edge because this is a nice satin stitch finish, but that's now one leaf that's done. I'm going to do an acorn, I think. Next piece to do, I've got this pale green, just old Penelope crewel wool in my needle, and I'm going to lay in satin stitch again. It's going to be sort of a combination of satin and split stitch because I would like this acorn to have the roundness. I don't want to just do it all straight, so I'm going to lay some stitches diagonal. I want to start just getting the framework again of where I want these stitches to lie. And all coming to a point here. I'll just do one over there. So I'm coming up on the line that I've drawn, and I'm going down just short of the point. I'm not going down in quite the same area. So I want to preserve a bit of a little point here. And I'll work this side first. So I'm just going to try and do, the stitches are going to come back down into everything, and I'm going to come up alongside that one and angle my stitches round. I'm going to try and get the sense of the roundness of the acorn. I'm splitting stitches where I need them to be split. And in the end, what's lovely about crewel wool is that it all just melts together and blends in to make a beautiful end. Some of these stitches are going to be short because I don't want to crowd the very end. I think that looks pretty decent to me, so I'm going to finish that one off. In fact, I will finish off on the top by just coming through and running my thread underneath. And of course you can start in this way. Once you've got a decent coverage on your fabric, you can start off by threading underneath too, and then stitching over what you've got. So I've got the nice base in, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do another bit of laid work on here. So this is the same thread as I've used on the couching. This time I am going to keep my stitches straight, so I'm going to do a slightly different stitch. So I'm going to do satin stitch. I'm going to do it straight up and down. I'm going to come up actually on the outside and come down towards the bottom of the acorn. And I'm going to work my way back across. going to add a little bit here because I want this to be a little bit wider. I'll just add 2 stitches onto this side. So to finish this little acorn off, I'm going to do some couching, and I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use this old green to start at the edge of the cap of the acorn. I'm going to come right the way over to the other side. I'm just going to pull the thread down. Now I'm not going to pull it tight, but I'm not going to leave it loose either, and I'm going to work back across with a little couching stitch, and there'll be enough stretch in there to pull that into the line that I would like it to be. So I'm just going to couch down, a little bit of a slanting stitch, and another one, and you want enough to get the curve, but you don't need loads. So just pull the thread in and straight over, and I put one more in. It doesn't need it, but it'll look nice to have 3 stitches, and that's a lovely way of finishing the cap. I'm actually going to do another one of them. I'm going to go straight across, and it's just decoration. That's all it is. And I'm going to follow the curve again, so I'm going to come down a little lower, pull that in and just couch it, and just a little lower than the line, pull the thread and couch. And again, I'll do one at the end, even though it doesn't technically need one. It's going to look nicer for mine, but you might only do 2, or you could leave it without this couching and just do the satin stitch. Actually, I'm going to put a 3rd line in. I quite like that. That's a bit wonky, so I'm going to start there, and gives it a bit of movement. And I'm going to be wide at the top and sort of make it look quite cylindrical or swirly. But there's nothing being difficult here, it's just really putting the combinations of stitches together. And one more for good luck. And I'm going to finish that off. I really like that little acorn. Maybe I need a bit of, maybe I want to put a bit of this green here. I'm going to just put a bit here. I'm going to come down onto the point and just put 1 or 2 stitches in, like a bit of shading. Now it's sort of gilding the lily a bit, it didn't need it. So you don't have to put that in, just see what you want to do and how you feel yours looks. I'm going to finish that off now, and I'm going to put another few lines of chain stitches on this bit here, probably just with this same colour and shading out to a little bit lighter, and I may finish some of these off, but you don't need to see me do that on camera. And next week we'll take it on with some more beautiful Crewelwork filling stitches. I hope you enjoyed that. I really love doing Crewelwork, and this type of open filling and then a dense filling, it really works well, and I can see so many applications, and I'm sure as it comes up to making Christmas presents, you'll probably see me doing some Crewelwork, maybe for a little brooch or a little necklace for someone, because it's really nice to do. It's just finding the time, which I never seem to have enough of. So anyway, that's lovely, and I'll show you a little close-up there of the pieces I've done already. So that's as far. I've thickened up the trunk and done all of the scroll work. Now on the trunk part, which I know I didn't show very much of because it is just chain stitch, but it's really nice to practice all those lines and get into a rhythm with it. And I would say you don't necessarily need to aim for tiny stitches. It's more about the evenness. So if you're doing larger stitches but you can get them to all be the same size, that's definitely a thing to aim for. And then once you've got consistency with size and everything looks even, you'll probably naturally find that your stitch size will grade down a little, but it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want, and of course you don't have to do chain stitches. You can do stem stitch or running stitches just as easily. You choose what you would like to do. All I'm doing is showing you how it can be and encouraging you to do your own thing. Anyway, that's that. I had a lovely holiday in Scotland with my sister, and she managed to get a couple of projects completed, and I got one completed and another one taken further. So first of all, the completed thing. Hooray! My blanket got finished, and here it is. And I'm going to, instead of the stitch tutorial this Friday like I would normally do, I'm going to actually do a short video about how I finished it off with my edging and then put the little edging on the very edge. While I was in Scotland, I'll just get my coat. I've actually made a good start on the embroidery, and so I've already changed my mind with what I was doing. Originally I was going to be doing meadow flowers all the way around, and now I've decided it's going to start on the right with spring, and it's going to go all around the hem with spring, summer, autumn, winter, with the appropriate flowers and probably little beasties and things too. And so I'm really looking forward to carrying on with this. It's going to be quite a lot of work, and I'll film some of it and some of it you will just get updates on. Like the violet there, which I've obviously stitched while I was away, and you're just seeing what I've done with it. So I think that's it. So please press the like button if you've enjoyed doing that, and if it's been of value to you. Send me a comment and let me know how it is. Please watch another video. I'm doing all sorts of things, and there's so much to do, and I have my bird quilt that I'm desperate to get finished. It is so near, and I have one more bird to do on it, and it's been waiting in the side wings, and I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks it's going to get done. So that's exciting because it's quite a few months since I got it to the stage I had it, and I've been working on it since. I just haven't been showing you. So all nice things to come, and thank you very much for all your support. I have a Ko-fi page if you feel you would like to help support my channel. I do take out the adverts from the middle of the videos so that you don't get interrupted by them. So if you feel you can support me on Ko-fi, I am so much appreciative. I don't make extra content for there because I physically don't have any more time. And I don't even get to go on that much because I'm just so busy. But from the bottom of my heart, I really, really do appreciate it all, and I love your support. So thank you very much, everyone. Whether you're on Ko-fi, whether you just send me a comment, whether you just press the like button, I appreciate it all, and I wouldn't be here doing it if you weren't all enjoying what I was doing. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you on Friday with the blanket update. Bye everyone, see you next time.